Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today I figured I'd do something different because I know for the past few weeks I've been covering the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, but I figured I'd do something different and cover a pitch for a animated series surrounding the Star Wars sequel trilogy. But this pitch isn't actually my own. It's actually from the Reddit user. I'm gonna put his name up on screen so you can see it. But it's called, or they're called Ron Swanson Gun. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But they were actually responding to a Reddit post in the Star Wars speculation sub, which asked people what their ideas be for a hypothetical animated series surrounding the sequel trilogy, and they actually pitched 5 seasons for this series, and I thought it would really be interesting to go over. And if Lucasfilm actually made something like this or made something similar to this, I actually think it would be successful in helping people to come to like the sequels, like myself, who weren't really receptive to them or didn't really like them, kind of like how Star Wars The Clone Wars did for those who didn't like the prequels at the time. So I'll just be reading their post and somewhat paraphrasing it in my own words. And if you would like to follow along with what I'm saying or what their actual post was, I'll put their post on the screen. So I'll get started with the first season. Starting with the first season, it would start 6 years before The Force Awakens, and the three main characters that we'll be following majority of the time throughout the show, but especially during the season, would be Poe Dameron, who would be a New Republic pilot, Senator Leia Organa Solo in the New Republic, and Jason Syndulla, a student of Luke Skywalker. And for those of you who don't know who Jason Syndulla is, he is the son of the Jedi Knight Kanan Jarrus from Rebels, and also the New Republic pilot, or maybe general at this time, Hera Syndulla. So in the first season, we'll see Jason on Jedi missions from Luke. We'll see Leia and her allies spying on the First Order, and you would kind of see Poe doing New Republic duties or things such as police work against the pirates and the bounty hunters. And by the end of season one, well, these things would actually be happening during the season. That way we can get a feel of what the galaxy's like during this time, which I'm guessing. But by the end of season one, we'll start to see the effects or the things leading up to the sequels that actually happen. So, for example, I'm guessing that Leia would actually leave the Senate to form the Resistance shortly after the galaxy finds out that Darth Vader is her father, and then Poe would kind of leave the New Republic as well to follow her, and then Jason would actually return to the Jedi Temple, or Luke's Jedi Temple, but he will find it destroyed and Luke nowhere to be found. And before we move on, I'm just going to give a quick note that I actually can see this working because even though this would be the first season, we'll be able to see a younger Poe. We'll be seeing him do his duties with the New Republic, and also Leia and the development between her and Poe's relationship, while also showing the development of the status of the New Republic and the First Order during this time, what these two are doing currently. And we'll also be seeing Luke and his new Jedi Order, what they've been up to, at least before they're destroyed by Ben Solo or Kylo Ren. But this will be my last interjection for the time being, and I'll give my thoughts on the pitch when I finish covering all 5 of the hypothetical seasons. So I'll move on to the second season. Now, moving on to the second season, it would take place a year after the first season. So during this time, we'll see Jason hiding with Hera and Chopper, of course, from Rebels, and they'll be fleeing the First Order on the Ghost Ship. During this time, also, we'll see Jason have a run-in with Kylo Ren, probably plenty of times, but he doesn't actually figure out that Kylo Ren is actually Ben Solo. And during this time, he would actually be struggling with his connection to the Force, kind of like how Cal Kestis did when the Jedi Order fell in 19 BBY. And he'll actually abandon his Jedi ways, kind of like Cal did for his own safety, and he'll eventually leave her as well. But in the meantime, Leia will send Poe on different missions in order to gather new members of the New Resistance, the New Republic, sorry. And it'll be during this time that we'll see some new faces, and a couple that comes to mind are Snap Wexley from the sequels, and maybe some familiar ones. And ones that come to my mind for the familiar faces are probably Nien Nunb. And this season will also see the First Order taking over planets, probably in the Outer Rim, and secretly getting up its way to the core worlds. Probably see Resistance pilots learning about the First Order for the first time, the Tico sisters joining the fight, and maybe Boba Fett, if he's still alive at this time, joining the Resistance, maybe probably by losing Tatooine to the First Order or something. But that's only if he's of course still alive and he's still ruling Tatooine. Because at the end of the Book of Boba Fett, currently there hasn't been a season 2, but he kind of says that they're not, I guess, fit for that. I guess that's what he's sort of implying. But moving on, Phasma would also be a recurring character or recurring antagonist this season, becoming kind of a first order enforcer whenever she and her allies go from planet to planet, setting rules and everything. But this season would actually conclude with the first major battle with the First Order, and the Syndulas officially joined the Resistance. So let's go on to season 3. Now, as we go on to season 3 would actually take place a year later, and this season will introduce Han Solo, of course, a original trilogy main character to the main cast, and he'd be a major player for the Resistance for the time being, and he'd have an arc where he comes to the realization of what happened to his son, of course, Ben Solo or Kylo Ren. During this time, we'll also see Jason adapt to the life of a resistance soldier, going on some scouting missions with Poe, and we'll see the relationship with them two, or those two, while he struggles trying to abandon or come to terms with abandoning his past life as a Jedi. And during the season, the two of them will be tasked with finding a base for the Resistance, maybe going through some old rebellion bases for ideas. We'll see the Tico sisters get their little own arc as well, probably doing something as working together to destroy maybe a first order factory or base or shipyard or something like that. And maybe, as the author of this post said, we can probably see Boba have his own arc. Give an example of how Boba would fight to free Tatooine from the First Order control or something. But eventually the season would actually end with Kylo Ren showing up or having a confrontation with Jason, believing that Jason is dead after their probably brief duel or battle or something. And then after he thinks that Jason is dead, he would focus on all of his efforts to fighting Luke, setting the sequels, in stone. But meanwhile, after this, probably Poe and Jason would work to give the Resistance some time to escape. Um, During this time, Han will also catch a glimpse of Kylo Ren, coming to the realization that he is Ben Solo, and then after the battle, we'll see Han tell Leia that he won't be able to fight against her son, and he will end up leaving. And Leia, even though she'll probably be upset, she'll understand and decides to find a way to bring Ben back to the light, again setting up everything in the sequels. And I guess we can move on to season 4. As we transition to season 4, there'll be a time skip, which would put us right actually before The Force Awakens. And we see kind of a montage of events that happened between the time skip of season 3 and season 4, which would show the Resistance gaining more members. And the main antagonist of the season would actually be a high-ranking First Order official, who actually has a fascination with the Force and has a collection of lightsabers. And if you guys haven't read or seen any YouTube videos about the original episode 9 script called Doodle of Fate, Hux kind of takes that role. So they'll be having someone else, they'll be kind of adapting that and making their own antagonist for that. But this officer would be obsessed with finding the last of the Jedi, and during the season, the officer and Jason would meet each other frequently and probably duel, especially because Jason, of course, is a former Jedi. During this time, Leia would get a lead on the location of Lord Santeca, and she would send Poe to find him. And this will be the point where Leia and Poe will kind of be written off the show for the time being, because this is when The Force Awakens would start. And of course, because of their films appearances like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, as I just said. Meanwhile, in the meantime, we'll see Jason, we'll see Hera, maybe we'll see a team of side characters, maybe the Tico sisters or something, who will eventually turn into the main characters of this season and eventually the show moving forward. And their mission will be to free the worlds of the Outer Rim from the First Order. But in the season's final episodes, as we get to that finale, we'll see the team trapped on Nar Shaddaa, which is controlled by the First Order. And eventually, while they're on that mission, they'll see the Hazian system, be destroyed by the Starkiller base, of course. But in the finale, the team will escape Nar Shaddaa in order to get back to the Resistance. But as they escape, they'll hear, the broadcast of the Battle of Crate and Luke's sacrifice to save the Resistance. So it's all episode 7 and episode 8 are gonna actually take place alongside this season. And then following this, Jason begins to question his connection to the Force upon hearing this. So let's now move on to the 5th and final season. So season 5 will be the 5th and the final season, and it takes place in the year between episode 8 and episode 9. And we'll see Poe and Leia kind of rejoin the main cast. And we'd also see Finn and Rey get some more focus as well during the season. And we'll also see, Jason would hear probably stories about Rey. I'm guessing that they won't be together until the very end of the season, which I'll touch on. But it would also, hearing about Rey and her efforts or whatever to restore the Jedi would kind of, question his decision about leaving the Jedi and think about rejoining, but they don't meet just yet, as the author brings out. And meanwhile, Poe and Hera, they will work on recruiting more members for the Resistance. We'll probably see Leia train Rey in the Jedi arts with whatever knowledge she does have, and that's pretty interesting to me. But that's going to be a different topic probably for another video. And we'll see Finn goes on missions and discovering his force sensitivity, and maybe Jason and Boba and Rose going on a mission to destroy the First Order bases, probably on Coruscant or something if they're stationed on Coruscant. Um, and then it's here that Jason would actually reconnect with the Force and then, you know, reclaim his father, Kanan Jarrus' lightsaber, that blue one that we see in Rebels that he uses. And then the series finale would start at the same time of the Rise of Skywalker, and we'd hear, or we see the Resistance hear the message of Palpatine returning, and then we'll see Jason, Hera, Boba, the team actually the team of, I guess, newly main characters prepare for the Battle of Exegol. And then once that happens, the group will come in contact with the lightsaber collecting officer, who would end up catching Jason, which would kind of separate, which would make sense why Jason would be in the movie, of course, because at the time he wouldn't be written, of course. But at the Battle of Exegol, he would actually duel and defeat the officer, and then the others would actually work with Finn and Rose and perhaps others to destroy the control tower, which of course is sending those transmissions to the other Star Destroyers across the galaxy. And then after the Battle of Exegol, Rey would bear the lightsabers on Tatooine. She and Jason would finally meet, and then this would kind of set up a new Jedi Order post the Rise of Skywalker with Rey, the new Jedi, but then you still have a tie to Luke's old Jedi Order, and them two coming together to make something new. So now that I've discussed the pitch for the 5 seasons, I'll give my thoughts on what I think about this pitch. So now that we've heard the pitch, I'll just give my thoughts, and I think that if Lucasfilm actually does something like this, or maybe something similar, or maybe something even different, maybe, just as long as it kind of, maybe, I wouldn't say follow this formula, but maybe even better, because this does come from a fan, so they probably have talented writers that can do things like this, or maybe even better. But just like the Clone Wars, we would be able to see the years and the events surrounding the sequels, and kind of like how the Clone Wars did, it kind of focused on those years surrounding the prequels and the Clone Wars at that time, which kind of help us to appreciate that time period. Maybe this could be the same way, and major criticism of mine and other people of the sequel trilogy was the lack of world building compared to the other trilogies, such as the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. And of course, it's because no information has really been written. I would say even after the sequel trilogy, there's nothing that has come out around this time. But especially with the information that has been released, I would say around this time currently, before surrounding the sequels, it doesn't compare to all the content for the prequels and the originals, and even after the originals, but before the sequel trilogy that has shown up or been created at this time. So I think that this show could actually help with this area by exploring maybe the different planets in the galaxy, or some returning planets that we could see maybe that are under the New Republic and the First Order's control. Even maybe some new species, because I know that's something that I always like to see in Star Wars, but there hasn't been that much of different aliens or maybe new aliens. We saw a couple of new ones, I would say, in Kenobi probably. And another is, maybe we'll touch on the lives of the main characters, the returning characters, the recurring characters, or even the side characters that will eventually become into main characters, such as Rose. We'll probably see more development between them, and especially Poe, because he was kind of he was one of course, the main trio in the sequel trilogy, but we didn't really get that much backstory from him. We got hints, of course, with Zoe Bliss and Babu Frick and things of that nature. But we didn't really get to learn about Poe as a individual character. And also members of the Resistance, maybe you could do something with Finn in here, maybe his arc, or you could go on a similar arc like that of Duel of the Fates or something. We can also see Leia in the Senate before The Force Awakens, of how the Senate is operating during that time, and how we could probably even see of how the galaxy responds to her and Luke being the offspring of Darth Vader, which would be really nice to see in an animated form, or just form, Star Wars media besides, the novels, of course, and of how Leia, of course, she leaves the Senate to, of course, go right into the First Order Resistance War. And even though this is me personally, this is my own opinion on this. I kind of not sure how I feel about developing even the New Republic and um, the New Jedi Order, Luke's Jedi Order, because they do get destroyed. And I know some people are gonna say, well, that's the same thing that happened with the Jedi of the prequels. And even though this is a different argument for a different day, I'll probably go into that on a different day, what I think about that. But me personally, I just don't think there's any. It's just I think it's like over 20 years before they're both destroyed again, and there are no survivors, knowing survivors of the New Republic or Luke's Jedi Order, except Jason in this pitch. We thought the same thing in Legends probably about how Luke was the last Jedi um, by the time of Episode 6, but we know that that's not the case. Of course, in Legends there were plenty of factions or plenty of Jedi Masters and younglings that end up joining Luke's new Jedi Order. But again, I'm rambling. This isn't part of the script. Um, but I do think overall that this series could work, just helping people like myself to come to appreciate the time of the sequel trilogy. Not everybody wants to keep hating on that. We actually probably, if something's going to help us, you know, um, like it better, maybe it's worth giving a shot, even though some people might be done with it. But I think this would be an interesting pitch to actually bring to life. Hopefully, Lucasfilm or Disney sees this pitch and decides to roll with it, or maybe something better or something similar. Um, but this is my thoughts, and this is again somebody else's pitch. So if you'd like to see the pitch for yourself, you can just go to the Star Wars Speculation sub, where you can look up the name as I showed earlier. I'll probably bring it up again at the end of the video to see what his comments are and the responses to it and everything. You'll probably see mine on there, probably. I don't know. But that's all I have for you guys this time. So if you would like, please let me know what you think about this pitch, or what's a pitch that you would pitch for the sequel trilogy yourself. Maybe an animated show, maybe I would say a sequel to the sequel trilogy, a TV show, an animated show, or something like that. I know they had the Lego Adventures, but those aren't really canon, at least to my knowledge. And let me know what you think about the video. Would you like to see me do more videos like this covering different Reddit posts, pitches, and everything like that? Or should I just try to create my own, I would say. And I'm thinking about a pitch for Finn and how to continue his story, or can maybe continue Rey's story, I don't know. But let me know what you guys think. So that's all I got for you guys this time. Hopefully you guys have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.